there is nothing, there is absolutely nothing, no reason for anybody to believe anything that comes from the federal government at this point, simply because of the fact that they've told us that we have transgender mice. There are no transgender mice, they're transgenic mice, but they were saying transgender mice because, you know, it's a fear tactic. They were saying that we were sending condoms to Gaza and so that Hamas can have condoms, and people took that in to be like, oh, they were making bombs out of the condoms. No, there's a different Gaza in another area, just like there's different Springfields all over the place. There are multiple places with the name of Gaza, and they were going there to help fight HIV/AIDS from spreading in Africa, in the continent of Africa. They're trying to fight the spread of AIDS. Oh no, such terrible people. And if part of that, and I don't know exactly what you're claiming, you know, took place, but if part of that, and I've let you go on for a very long time. If I was a conservative host, I would have cut you off 10 minutes ago. And I'm sure there are many people of my viewers, watchers, listeners, whatever, who would probably be thankful for me having done that 10 minutes ago. And I do think that there are other people who want to call in, so I am going to thank you for calling. I'll allow you to listen for this last part, but I'm going to thank you for your call. The point is that all of these things that are being claimed that are done under the guise, you know, you yourself said that they're pushing the LGBTQ agenda, and that became they're telling a child that they are X, and then that went to, oh no, they're supporting a child who comes forward and says, and he hung up, so there you go. They're pushing that they're now supporting a child who comes forward as wanting to be called a different name. I mean, if my legal name is Daniel J. Zimmerman, and one of my Spanish classes I wanted to be known as Juan to go off my J, my middle name, and so that's what they did for me. Do you think that they school should have gone to my parents and said, oh no, Mr. and Mrs. Zimmerman, Daniel is wanting to be called J now against what you called him? Is that a terrible thing? No. So if a student goes to their teacher and says, look, I'd really rather be called this than that, who cares? Why does a parent need to know what they want to be called differently? They're not transitioning. They're not getting anything surgically done to them, because that's what this turns into. They're calling somebody by a name that they would prefer to be called turns into they're performing these on children, just like the whole they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats thing. It's being done to push fear in the minds of the people that Donald Trump knows that he can manipulate and claim to be a populist. Donald Trump is not a populist. I get pissed off at anybody in the media, left or right, who tries to say that Donald Trump is a populist. Donald Trump is a faux populist. Donald Trump is somebody who pretends to be a populist so that he can get enough people alongside with him to believe that he's going to do what he says he's going to do, simply because, you know, he wants their votes. No more, no less. Frankly, I would probably bet money that if you were to go deep into I hate to use the word soul because I doubt Donald Trump actually has such a thing, but if you were to go into whatever acts as a soul within Donald Trump and you were to actually know his real inner truths, he probably doesn't give a rat's ass about trans folk. He probably, and not in the negative way, he probably is just like, I don't care. He probably doesn't care what trans folk do. He doesn't care about kids and whether or not they're having surgeries hoisted upon them. He's just willing to say that what he knows that enough people want to hear so that he can put scare tactics and fear tactics, because you conservatives claim that we're against the working class. We're not against the working class. We're against bigotry and intolerance. And you could say all you want, the definition of bigotry means opposition, obstinate or this definition right here is obstinate or unreasonable attachment to a belief or opinion or faction, particularly prejudice against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. That being said, you need to educate yourself more about the paradox of tolerance, or what is often referred to as the paradox of tolerance, because the paradox of tolerance basically says that you are more than welcome to be intolerant of the people who are also intolerant, and that does not make you a hypocrite. That does not make you a bigot. That does not make you yourself, a bad person because you are being intolerant. Like telling me, a Jewish person, that calling me intolerant because I don't like Nazis. That's the ridiculousness of the whole thing. In reality, there is no paradox of intolerance, because if you are somebody who doesn't like people because they're Jewish, because they're Muslim, because they're LGBTQA, if you don't like those people, you've violated the social construct that requires tolerance of all people. So if you violate the contract, the social contract, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to call it, you violate that, then you yourself are not protected by that contract in and of itself. So yes, we can fully be, quote, bigoted against those people, because those people are no longer protected by the same social norms that we would have put on everybody else. So it's not hypocrisy to be opposed to people who are anti-LGBTQ, to people who are pushing these false ideas that put these ideas into people's heads that, hey, they're coming after your kids and they're going to perform surgeries. They're going to chop off. I've literally heard people who are conservatives on the radio say that liberals are supporting of chopping off the penises of little children. That's what these people actually say and actually believe. Why? Because you allowed people who are hateful and bigoted to take power. You allowed them to take over your party. You allowed them to do that. We were too stupid as a country to not reject what we should have rejected. No child, not one, is getting gender reassignment surgery. Not a damn one. There are groups out there who have talked about, there's a clinic in North Carolina that's Duke run, or Duke runs this clinic, or some other clinic in North Carolina where that deals with children, and those clinics do happen to deal with certain things. There is no example of any sort of clinic that's going to go in there and perform gender reassignment surgery on kids. Are there clinics that do talk about how they will perform surgery on children and on their genitals? Sure, absolutely. Why? Because there are children who get injuries to those parts and they need surgeries to fix those parts. And when a child has a procedure done to repair his or her parts down there, you know what that is? That's gender reaffirming surgery. That is a procedure that is done to have the person feel whole. But not one of these clinics is going to perform gender reassignment surgery on any children. Typically, there's two guidelines to get gender reassignment surgery. And how do I know this? Because I've had trans people on my show as guests, I've had experts on the show as guests, and I've done research myself to see what these clinics actually require. And if you are somebody who wants to transition, which you're not under any requirements to transition, mind you. If you are a trans person, you're not required to have any surgeries to be considered valid, not one. But these clinics will say, you, in order to get this gender reassignment surgery, to get bottom surgery, you have to A, be 18, and B, be on hormones for at least a year. So in reality, if you're not going to get on hormones until you're 18, then you really can't get it done until you're 19. So no, it is a fake fear-mongering tactic of the right that they are saying, that you're telling these people that they are coming after your children, that they're doing all these things to your children. It's fear-mongering. And there are fortunately, there's enough people who believe it. And there are fortunate enough people to say, you're going after the working class. No. There are some people who are in the working class who do believe these bigoted things. But there are other people in the working class who don't believe in these bigoted things. I guarantee you those people in the working class are not going to say that that's an example of the Democrats coming after the working class. They're going to say it's Democrats protecting the marginalized people. It's Democrats protecting the little guy. Be it if the little guy is a worker, if the little guy is labor, if the little guy is a minority, if the little guy is LGBTQA or girl or whatever, or non-binary individual. So, and yes, there are people who will learn in school that there are things, like that not everybody identifies as a cisgender male or a cisgender female. There are people who are trans, there are people who are non-binary, there are people who are gender fluid, gender non-conforming, etc. And you might not be comfortable with that, but that doesn't change the science of the fact that the kindergarten cop biology is not real biology. saying all boys have a penis and all girls have a vagina may be a funny line for a movie about kindergarteners in a kindergarten classroom. It is not the way to discuss science. And there's plenty of Scientific American articles I can point you at. Just Google Scientific American, 2 genders, 2 sexes, or whatever. You'll find several articles on this, and you'll see that the idea of gender, of not just gender being binary, but the idea of 2 sexes are both considered antiquated and not up to the times and up to, what modern people, actually believe, who actually embrace the science. So I'm sorry you have to, you are guilty of manipulating the words just as badly as you try and claim, because again, every conservative accusation is a confession. You're manipulating the language to say that, they're going after the working class. No. Could we as Democrats, as liberals, as leftists or whatever, could we do a much better job? Thank you, Jolie, for being a liberal Danimal for 15 months. Could we do a much better job explaining and fighting back against the conservative bullies who are trying to push this anti-LGBTQA bullshit on people? Could we do a better job of helping to explain to these people that, why the trans issue in sports is nothing like there's 50,000 NCAA collegiate athletes and maybe 10 are trans, and most of whom are in, sports where, are, not gender specific. But yes, we could absolutely do a better job fighting back against the conservative bigotry that says that, they're going after your values. Well, maybe if your values are discriminating against LGBTQA folks, your values suck. But we could do a better job, and maybe we could be a little nicer about the whole thing. But I'm sorry, sometimes I don't feel like being nice when people are advocating for the discrimination of people, especially when it comes to young kids. Because as I talked about in one of my recent Fat Man rants, for every single person who accepts a trans child as they are, instead of as what their birth certificate says, they are 50% less likely to commit suicide, to commit self-harm. 50% less for each individual. And if you don't know math, so one person, 50%, 2 persons, 75%, so yada, yada, yada. So what do I have to say about a school district that would, keep, if the child wants it kept secret, if they don't want their parents knowing that they'd rather go in class by a different name? What do I say about that? Good. Why? Because protecting that child's life is more important than the feelings that these parents might have over the fact that their child wants to use a different name than what they put on their birth certificate. And if you don't understand that, then you can never claim to be pro-life, because you can never claim to support the lives of children or whatever, because you are advocating for policies that would make these children more likely to commit suicide. And that's it. So yeah, you want to know how I feel about that? Good on those schools for protecting the kids. I wish more kids would be protected by these schools as well, because these children are the most at-risk youth out there, and not because the liberals are coming after them. It's because you, the conservatives, are coming after them.